get the mic turned on. There you go. Well, welcome. Welcome to an edition of the Take Home Show for Fight Back. We haven't done a Take Home Fight Back episode ever, and this is the first one. We've got some problems with the mobile studio, i.e. my car. The driver's side window doesn't close, so the noise is a lot. So you may hear some of it. You may hear some of it as we're going down the road. But we decided to go ahead and give it a shot tonight with a little wired microphone that I bought, and to see if we can do this, if this can be done. I want to talk about the election. I know, surprise, surprise. But I want to talk about it in a way that not a lot of people are talking about. Surprise, surprise. I did a Facebook Live video this evening where I talked about this, that this is more than an election. This is not just about the election, though. This is about who gets to drive the narrative for the next little bit. And right now, mainstream media is at the hands of liberal, leftist, Marxist politicians to continue to echo a dangerous and destructive narrative that is destroying urban America and America as a whole. And that's what this is really about. This is about the story that gets told, and a lot about the story that doesn't get told. You know, the hypocrisy and the schizophrenia that is mainstream media when it comes to urban America is sometimes very difficult to take. You know, when mainstream media and entertainment and pop culture are perfectly okay with still portraying African Americans or black people and all the traditional roles that they played, like in the 1970s on television and in movies, they're perfectly okay with that still. But but lose their mind if somebody like Donald Trump says, you live in the worst neighborhoods, you have the highest crimes, your schools are a disaster, there are no jobs. That somehow, because Donald Trump says these things, now this is important that we get this point, that because Donald Trump actually says these things, now I'm not coming out as a huge Donald Trump supporter in this, but because Donald Trump says these things, that somehow Donald Trump is a racist. Now, the same liberal left and the same liberal media says that our taxes ought to get raised, people's taxes ought to get raised, because there are poor people in the country that need help. And ostensibly, they're not talking about people in Appalachia. Let's get real. They never mention the poor people in Appalachia. They never talk about the hillbillies. They always direct the conversation to the black and brown people living in inner city America. So when that's going on, what are they saying? They're saying that the people who live in inner city America have horrible schools, no jobs, and they need help. So it's okay for them to say it. It's okay for them to, in their pop culture, portray black and brown people as thugs and pimps, just like it's 1970, and dangerous gangster rappers. That's perfectly okay still, if it is indeed done by the liberal left. Now, if a Republican or a conservative decides that he's going to characterize someone in the black community or the black community in that way, that person's a bigot. That person's a racist. Now, and this is the narrative that keeps getting driven. It's a dangerous narrative. And it's dangerous because it's based in politics and hypocrisy. It's not based in truth. You know, if we go back a little bit, a lot of pop culture and mainstream media's problem with the Cosby Show was that it wasn't realistic. Even black people in black pop culture said that it's not realistic. And of course, the liberal left, the Marxists, went along. No, it's not realistic. A doctor and a lawyer, black people, really? And nobody's pregnant? Or on drugs, or stealing, or in jail? There's no way! People are graduating from college? People are going and graduating from college? People are going to Princeton and NYU and graduating? That graduation from college is an expectation? That getting good grades in school is an expectation? And you know what? And on the Cosby Show? Are you serious? Not getting somebody pregnant or not getting pregnant without being married? That both mom and dad not only lived there and weren't divorced, they were both successful in their jobs? That was unrealistic. Like George Bush said, it is the soft bigotry of low expectations. But that's the narrative that keeps getting pushed. So when you have a show that is that popular on television, now notwithstanding any of the things about Bill Cosby, I'm not talking about anything that came out about Bill Cosby, whether he's guilty or not guilty. You know what? I'm not talking about that. I'm talking about the show. It could have been anybody. That this narrative that should have been something to uplift urban America was something that the mainstream media and pop culture pushed down as something that was unattainable. This is TV. While celebrating, now I remember celebrating how wonderful the show Good Times was, which I thought was one of the worst shows on television. It was frankly, I thought it was badly acted, and the storylines were depressing. Absolutely depressing. Whenever there seemed to be an opportunity for things to get better, there was disaster. When Thelma was going to marry the football player who was going to go in the NFL and everything was going to be okay, in a stupid accident, he hurt his knee and it was all over. John Amos' character died. You know, I mean, it was just awful. And that was the expectation. And every character on that show was a caricature of something. Nobody had any depth. Every character was some caricature. So I'm not so sure that mainstream media or the liberal left has a narrative that creates success in urban America. This election isn't about that. This election isn't about the candidates necessarily and who wins. It's about who are we going to allow to continue to direct the narrative in urban community. And now we have we're using the election as an opportunity to make a difference. On October 8th, at the Calvary Christian Center in Los Angeles, California, my friend Shirley Huzar, who is the principal behind Urban Game Changers International, is leading a town hall meeting that brings community stakeholders together to have a discussion about opting in or opting out of this election and why they should opt in, basically. What's at stake? An open, honest conversation from somebody who is a black conservative Christian woman leading the discussion. in the urban community, black Christian conservative women don't get to lead these sort of discussions. People who have worked for and are supporting Republican candidates don't get to lead these discussions. And this is a conversation. You know, the left, I mean, whenever there's something going on, the left is always like, there needs to be some national conversation about this. Well, guess what? We're having that conversation. Urban Game Changer is having that, international is having that conversation. Thanks to Shirley Huzar, who we are promoting from Fight Back Media Group. We're going to partner with them, and on the 8th here in Tampa, simulcast that broadcast, because it's important that we simulcast that broadcast so people can see it, and we need your help. We have got to have your help. We have to do things like rent a projector. We don't have a projector. We've got to be able in the next 3 days get the word out to people through flyers that we don't have the money to print up right now, Facebook ads, and however else we can do it. We need your help. We need you to go to www.gofundme.com/October 2016. Or you can go to our website, fightbackmedia.com, and click on the donate button next to the video at the top of the page. And then when you go down to the page, you can see some of the people that we are partnering with and supporting. K. Carl Smith, C.L. Bryant, Alfonso Rachel, Sonny Johnson, Kevin Batts of the RedRiverChronicle.com, all interested in changing the narrative, changing the story. You know, one of the first things I learned from my interview with Andrew Breitbart was that the liberal left controls the story, and whoever controls the story gets to control what people do and think and feel, because they're telling the story. And where Republicans and conservatives fall down is that we have not taken over the story, that we will not tell our own story. Fight Back Media is interested in telling our own story, especially as it concerns urban America. We will tell our own story. We will tell the truth about our education system in urban America. We will tell the truth about our lack of economic opportunity in urban America. We will tell the truth about how a lot of times black churches are paid off, not necessarily with cash, but with favors from those in government to keep quiet about certain things, to keep the people under control and satisfied. We will tell the truth about the practice of opening parks and rec centers instead of places to get work, like industrial parks that bring jobs to areas. Urban America is more likely to get a park or a rec center to keep people entertained and occupied as opposed to employed. We will tell the truth about these things, and we want that narrative, the narrative of truth, which may not be all that pretty and exciting and uplifting, but we've got to be able to tell the truth. We've got to be able to tell the truth about leadership, elected and unelected, in urban communities around the country that are doing nothing more than doing the master's bidding. That they are making sure that those that they are supposed to be representing are not being represented in a way that's beneficial to them. These stories are going to be told all over the country, and that everybody is on that Democrat plantation, and I'll say it like Herman Cain said it, they want us to stay on that Democrat plantation so we can stay dependent. We will tell the story of how I believe that white liberals treat black people like pets. We are ready to fight back against the the leftist, liberal, dangerous, destructive narrative that makes some of our young men have the idea that they are Superman and they deserve respect without earning it, and that same attitude and combativeness is getting them killed. That same narrative that says that gang warfare in our cities isn't happening. That same idea that says that we shouldn't talk about black on black crime or brown on black crime or brown on brown crime before we address the minuscule amount, percentage-wise, of police shootings. When the fact of the matter is that more black men, young men, are being murdered by people who look just like them every single day than are being killed by police. It's the idea of, and I mentioned this in the video today, it's like when I was sick and I had my heart problem, you know what, my right knee hurt too. But when I went in the hospital and after I had cardiac arrest and I was in my room, I didn't tell my heart doctor, hey, listen, my triple bypass surgery can wait. You guys got to work on my knee because my knee hurts. When they were trying to save my life, right? It's ridiculous. It's insane. So, and that's the narrative that's being preached and being pushed in urban America, to look at the things that barely happen because they are so dramatic, as opposed to looking at things that are running rampant. 75+% of our children are being born to single mothers. And what do we say? What do the numbers say? One of the driving indicators of poverty will be children born to single mothers. And is mainstream media telling that truth? No. They're not telling that truth. What they're doing is exactly the opposite. They're glorifying the single mother, and especially the strong black woman, as something to aspire to. When the fact of the matter is that when that's played out in reality, it's not any good for the woman and it's not any good for the children. And what we're raising is a bunch of hypersensitive young black men that you see screaming and yelling nonsense in the BLM movement. Completely emotional and devoid of reason. Hyper emotional. Raised by their mothers, raised by their grandmothers, their aunts, older sisters. It's like they've been taking estrogen injections, mainlining soy, and growing breasts. It's ridiculous. And mainstream media is completely and totally silent because they are complicit. They are complicit in this negative, destructive, dangerous narrative. Fight Back Media Group exists to push back that narrative, to tell our story in urban America. That's why we exist. That's what we're doing. And we're starting to get some push. The idea of that urban America should be in some sort of confrontational standpoint with police is ridiculous and dangerous. When urban America needs policing and needs to be some of the safest neighborhoods in America, as opposed to some of the most dangerous. When East St. Louis is the murder capital per capita of the country, and is in urban America, that's a problem. When it's dangerous in Chicago and any weekend especially, to walk down the street and not get shot. in a place that has the most stringent gun laws in America, that's something that we got to look. That's something that we got to look into. That is something that we got to look into. That we've got to start looking introspectively, and that narrative and that story has got to be told in the places that that those things are happening. Fight Back Media Group is dedicated to exactly that. We are dedicated to exactly that. Making our story heard in the places that it needs to be heard. Changing the narrative so we can change the future of urban America. Now, it is my belief personally that if the healthier urban America is, the healthier America is. Why? Because most people live in urban America. That's where the most people live. So again, the healthier urban America is, the healthier America is. And that's where we have to be if we're going to make America great ever. Not ever. If we're ever going to get back to a place where we are the shining beacon on a hill, we've got to cure the ills of urban America. You know what? I mentioned it the other day on my show. It came to me. It's funny how things come to me. The attitude that we should have in urban America, where I live, where I'm driving through right now, is we need to have the excitement and the drive and the strength of slaves in America when they were first freed, right after they learned about the Emancipation Proclamation, right after they were told that they didn't have to stay on the plantation anymore, that they could have a life of self-determination. That sort of joy, that sort of excitement, that sort of idea that I'm now responsible for myself, that I don't have to do things that I don't want to do. Nobody can tell me what to do. The future is bright for me. I have all of this, America, to make a life for me and my family. This is a narrative that we need to push. This is what urban America needs. This is what Black America and Brown America needs. That level of excitement. Anything else that says, oh, poor pitiful me, we can't really make it unless liberal white people help us fight off the boogeyman that is the conservative Republican white man. Are you serious? That's what mainstream media pushes. That black and brown people are helpless. That's why mainstream media is perfectly okay with no borders, especially with Mexico. Why? Because those people are helpless. They are helpless to solve their own problems in their own country. Well, first of all, no, they're not. No, they're not. They're perfectly smart enough to work in the factories and produce goods for American companies that move there. And they've got teachers, professors, engineers, scientists, doctors, attorneys, judges, all the same professions that we have here in America. So the idea that everybody in Mexico is picking fruit and is helpless is bigoted and racist, which is spot on, par for the course for mainstream media and the liberal left. So if I say, you know what, go ahead and build the wall, make people stay in their own country and fix their own problems. You just can't run. You can't come here, not illegally. That Mexico needs its people there to solve their own problems. That doesn't make me a racist. That doesn't make me a bigot. That doesn't make me a xenophobe. You know? It doesn't make me or anybody else who says those things any of those things. Not at all. And that's the narrative that we need to start driving. You know, the whole idea that, oh, you're brown or you're black and you're helpless. We need to push back that narrative. The fact of the matter is that they're not helpless. We're not helpless. I'm a black man in America and I am not helpless. And I've never been helpless. And my parents have never been helpless. And my family is not helpless. My son is not helpless. My wife is not helpless. We are not helpless. We do not need to be dependent on this leviathan of large, ever-expanding government for our existence. We don't. Thank you, no. And quite frankly, neither does anybody else. Oh my God, my lights went out. Oh, Jesus, help me. All right, so that's what we're up against. That's what we are up against, ladies and gentlemen. That's what we're up against. Well, thank you for listening to my take-home edition and putting up with the noise and the motorcycles and the road graders and whatever else was on the road today. We appreciate you that we're pulling into the Fight Back Media Group compound. I love saying that. We're just pulling up in front of my little house that you've seen on Facebook Live. Something's going on with my lights in my car, but that's okay. All right. If you want to help us out, if you believe in what we're doing, if you believe in what we're doing and want to help us out, do me a favor.